We had a script, and we had Ed the Indian, and we had, Jeff Sagansky suggested that the John Corbett character, it wasn't John Corbett at the time, should be a DJ, and that was a good suggestion. And so we made that. And I don't know if it was because of Good Morning Vietnam, or I don't remember what year that came out or something, but he suggested that, and that was Jeff, and that was a good idea. He had some other good casting ideas that we listened to, and wisely. There've been sometimes I've listened and I'm sorry I did. But Ed Chigliak, Ed the Indian, and Darren Burroughs came in, and he had what we didn't know at the time is he was blonde, and he had this black hair, and he was just great. And he was great. And so we said, "Boy, are you an Indian or something?" He said, "Yeah." John Corbett came in. He had tattoos, and he had like a band around his long hair, and he was from West Virginia, which we made the character. In many ways, he's just the most charming guy and a lovely guy, but a guy's guy, and you could see why men and women like him. He is just a friendly, open guy. And although he's a guy from West Virginia, to me it was sort of like it's the difference between an academic and an intellectual. An academic is what I wasn't when I went to graduate school. I don't want to read secondary sources and parse it and all that stuff. An intellectual is anyone to whom ideas are real. And you can be a dock worker, you can be the doorman. And John, the character, was a guy who was interested in ideas. And you don't have to be educated to be interested in ideas. Interested in all kinds of things. And so he, of course, and he would be on the radio, and he was wonderful, and he would be reading these things. He had no idea what he was saying, and but he was game, and he was just great. And Rob, what we wanted is we knew we had a New Yorker, a quintessential New Yorker. And I'm Jewish, and so he'd be Jewish. But we didn't want a nerdy looking guy. Rob's a handsome guy, and so when we found him, we knew that he was the guy that we wanted. He hadn't done very much. He'd done a commercial for Trident, and I think he'd been in an episode of Tattingers, which was a Bruce Paltrow show that wasn't successful. But we knew that he was our guy, and we also knew that we needed a Maggie O'Connell, and we didn't have one until the very, very end. And what happened at the very end, we put her on tape. She was in New York, and we needed someone, and we looked at her, and she's beautiful, and Sagansky, and she just talked or something, and we all said, she's the one, so we got her out there. What was fun when we were casting is we had the assistant, who was supposed to be an Indian woman, Native American, and the actress who ultimately got cast had driven her mother there, and she came there, and she was very good, but she was elderly, and we walked out, and we said, "Who are you?" And she said, "Well, that's my daughter." And they said, do you act?" And she had never acted, but we just put her on tape, and she was great.